podcast, the Heidelcast.
J.W. Alexander argued that it rises and falls with our pastors, that if our pastors would, in the pulpit, preach, this is Christ's inheritance. All the nations of the earth, they've been given to him. They are his inheritance. We're not going out and making them his inheritance. They're his. So we're going and claiming them. And let's go claim what's his.
The opinions expressed in this program are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or its advertisers. Listener discretion is advised. Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent. And now, Scott Clark.
Ben Shapiro, by his own admission, is as far from eternal life as Gavin Newsom.
Jesus is gonna win.
We're on a mission from God.
It's the Heidelcast, the podcast devoted to recovering Reformed theology, piety, and practice.
We talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice.
I'm a pastor and a church historian. This episode is for the week beginning Sunday, February 8th, 2027. We're brought to you by the Heidelberg Reformation Association. We exist to recover the Reformed confession and to help others discover it. We are at heidelbergreformationassociation.org. Email or send a voice memo to heidelcast@heidelblog.net.
At the tone, leave your name and message. I'll get back to you.
Call or text the Heidel phone anytime at 760-618-1563. It's 760-618-1563.
Apple Podcast comments.
Don't forget to subscribe in Apple Podcasts or in any podcast app and give us a 5-star rating in your pod app so that others can find the Heidelcast. And remember, we're now on YouTube at Heidelcast, and that's where you can see our new feature, Heidel Video. Don't forget to check out the Heidel shop at heidelblog.net/SHOP.
Guess what? I got a fever, and the only prescription is more cowbell.
Oh, thank you for the cowbell. We really need more cowbell.
We're taking a brief break from the Philippians series for a special interview episode with my good friends Chris Gordon and Chad Vegas. Stay tuned. We'll return to Philippians very soon.
The best podcast, the Heidelcast.
Hi, guys. Welcome to the Heidelcast, and welcome to the new studio.
Thanks, Scott. It's actually an amazing studio, and I'm just overwhelmed by the intro still. I'm saying
We're overwhelmed. We're trying to process all this right now.
Yeah, exactly. I was watching you hit all those buttons. I don't remember saying anything about Ben Shapiro ever in his sermons. I don't know where you got that from, but I'm just sitting here thinking the new studio is actually beautiful.
It is. It's a
beautiful.
gift from the Lord. It's really wonderful.
But what I just went through with all those intros, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone.
Oh,
This
it
is
was.
very- what was that?
I thought that was something.
See, if you listen to the show more often, then you'd know.
Oh,
right?
I know all the intro. I just have never actually sat through watching you push the buttons and make it happen. It was really impressive.
The magic, yeah.
Yeah.
The magic. Well, Brian cleans it up too. Producer Brian, he fixes things and makes it sound even better than it does. But this is what I used to do for a living.
Yeah.
In fact, it was all live. There was no post-production. Either you got it right or you didn't. So, yeah, it's fun. That's you. That first drop was from a relatively recent sermon of yours.
Really?
Yeah.
Chad preaching on politics? Is that
No, you were. I think you. No, it wasn't. I guess it wasn't super recent. It was you on following up in the series on Genesis, and I think you were going kind of back over and tying a bow. You said on Genesis 17 is what you were. So
okay.
it's that
Interesting.
one. So,
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
And Chris's came from a recent sermon, I think.
Oh.
So Jesus wins.
You listen to those?
Yeah, occasionally.
Okay.
I mean, I hear them live, so I don't always go back and re-listen to them.
He watches it on live video at home.
I watch it from the balcony in church.
I can verify. I have been to Chris's church. Well, Escondido URC Church.
Yeah, we know what you mean.
While Chris is preaching.
Yeah.
And seen Scott back there.
He's there.
I've seen him. While the music's playing, seeing Scott not singing.
Oh, I sing. I just don't always sing the same
Oh my
thing
goodness, I cannot believe you just pulled that one.
that everyone else sings. But I sing. I make a joyful noise to the Lord.
So, it's fun to watch.
I'm back there.
Yeah, I was thinking.
What
a good sport.
I've sat next to your associate pastor.
You have. You've been to my church and not sang too.
Well, you make it a little more difficult because at Escondido, I look up the meter and then I find a psalm that's set to the same meter.
And then you sing the psalm while they're singing a hymn.
Quietly.
Yeah.
I don't disturb anyone.
There you go.
He's very good.
I mean, he's tolerated that for years from you, Chris.
Yeah.
That's kind of him. It's a
I
good
understand.
member.
Is this what we're doing right now?
No, just giving Scott a hard time.
No, I know. I know I have a minority view.
You bring Chad in here and look what he does.
Yeah, he
just
causes trouble.
stirs
Yeah, that's
controversy. He's trying to get us riled up.
That's right.
You know, that's what a Bakersfield dude does.
Yeah.
Well, this is the Central Valley. That we're not in it, but there's two of the three of us are in the Central Valley. So from the Central Valley, and one of you, and you lived there for a bit too.
I did. Well, I spent a summer in a fifth wheel trailer in the parking lot of Grace Reformed Church in Bakersfield. So I paid my dues.
It's almost the worst thing I can imagine doing is spending a summer in a trailer in the Central Valley.
Actually,
that sounds worse.
The fifth wheel so this is the summer of 1986, and it was a beautiful fifth wheel trailer, and the family was very gracious to let us use that all summer. But I will say, watching a parking lot undulate at 3:00 in the afternoon, now that was something. Right? You had to be careful. You had to be mindful of what kind of shoes you were going to wear out under that blacktop because it just sort of, you could see the waves of heat rising and you could kind of see the parking lot sort of, when the first week we got there, it was interesting. They warned me, now we have this thing called valley fever. And so you should stay indoors for the first week until you get acclimated and we'll see how you do if you get valley fever. And we were fine. We didn't get sick. But that was a little scary.
Well, as long as you're not out when the wind's blowing. That's where you have to be careful. When you see dust blowing, because it's valley fever is a fungus. It's a spore that's in the dirt.
They didn't explain that.
And so when the dirt gets kicked up by the wind, then that's when you can get it.
Well, that's not the only problem you have.
Is it?
What's the other problem we have?
Pesticides are being dumped on top of you.
It's true. Going up 99, I mean, I grew up in farm country. And so, the smell of manure doesn't bother me because grandma said that's money, right? That smells like money. But the cloud of pesticides that you sometimes drive through on 99.
And Chad's a conspiracy theorist. He thinks they're seeding.
Are those
seeding the clouds?
I mean, yes.
I am unusually large. I don't know what that's from.
People.
Maybe that's why.
Cloud seeding, though, is not chemtrails.
No. Okay, no, that's right. It's not a conspiracy theorist to say that they actually cloud seed.
Yeah.
There's numerous articles, Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, no,
but it's the crazies who think that the government's just out to kill you.
Yeah, because they don't need anybody apparently to pay taxes, so they're going to kill us all. Doesn't make any sense.
The chemtrails.
Yeah.
So Bakersfield, essentially what we summarized is Bakersfield's a place that is unbearably hot.
It can
where
be.
you're going to catch terrible diseases and it smells like cow manure. That's what we're hearing.
No, it didn't actually. It smelled like pesticides.
Other than that, it's a wonderful place to live.
Just on 99.
See, the South Valley's the worst because there's no air movement.
What are you talking about? I'm totally South Valley. We have wind every night.
You do not.
We do. My wife's family's from Exeter. Exeter's 12 miles east of Visalia. That is east of where you grew up. And she comes to Bakersfield. She goes, "You always have a breeze in the evening.
Chad,
every evening you have a breeze."
Chad gets 2 miles an hour and he thinks it's a storm.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's true.
My English friends are going to laugh when you say that you get wind at night. They are going to.
Well,
you'll have to forgive us.
That's probably true too. Yeah. But that wind is the cow manure smell coming through. Yeah. But that does happen at night too. Yeah.
This is a profitable podcast.
Yeah.
So far.
I had a great summer though, summer of '86. That was the summer after which I decided that I want to be a minister. I thought I was going to go be an academic. And after that internship, I did the internship with Don Trike, and the Trikes were great because the parsonage, the manse, was right next to the church in the same parking lot. And so we were cheek by jowl for the whole summer, and it was a great, great experience. It was difficult in some ways, but I learned so much about ministry being with them. So I enjoyed that. And I remembered doing a Bible study one night in Shafter. And afterwards, somebody brought in right out of the field red flame grapes that were chilled.
Oh.
And that was one of the best things I've ever eaten because it was like, 97 degrees outside and we had air conditioning, but it was a little warm. And those red flame grapes, in fact, somebody said, those are really good, but be careful not to overdo it. You'll regret that.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing.
Stay away from the apricots.
Yeah, people do not know.
That's easy. I don't like
is
that.
how glorious the fruit is in the Central Valley.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's like, yeah.
It's kind of the
grapes.
bread basket of California, right?
The world.
You can stop anywhere on the side of the road. There's a stand with somebody like strawberries that you just want to eat all day, and grapes, and that's amazing. That's amazing.
I have a question for you. How do you say almonds?
Almond.
Oh, interesting. See,
Just like I say it.
how do you say it?
Almonds.
Oh, see, I thought everybody up there said almonds.
If you get north of Fresno County, they say Ammon. So
Oh,
like up
interesting.
in the Ripon area.
Okay.
The other Dutch.
So you're not far enough
community.
north.
Not far enough north.
Scott thinks we have a specific sort of way of speaking.
You have a dialect.
A dialect. from
No,
the
you
valley.
do.
You think that's true?
I've been told that I have an accent.
Chad, what were you describing at dinner tonight? You were saying that
Oh, that person had a grip of money.
had a grip, and Scott had no idea what you were talking
No,
about.
I
was
did.
like, "What do you mean a grip?" That's what we always said. Like that's a grip. You got a grip of that.
I figured it out right away. I just had never heard that expression.
Is that a Central Valley thing, or is that just because Scott's old? What one is
That's
that?
a good question.
I pay attention to language, so that's why I was interested.
Yeah, you do.
So how do you say treasure?
Treasure.
Treasure.
No, you don't. You say treasure.
I do not.
I listen to you every Sunday. Absolutely.
He thinks he heard me say that, so he thinks that's Central Valley talk. now.
Treasure and
Like
measure.
redneck Central Valley.
No,
talk.
no.
Do you say measure?
Bob Godfrey is not a redneck, and he says the same thing.
He says treasure.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's English.
No. It's Northern California.
Maybe that's
Is it?
Fresno Visalia kind of English. I don't know. I say
Lamar.
treasure. Yeah. I have been told that I have some kind of an accent. I have been told that. And
Yeah.
I don't hear it.
I
but
don't
I've
hear
told
it
that.
either.
When I went up to Linden, Washington, I go preach in Canada, and all of them were convinced I had a Californian accent.
I'm sure you
And
do.
I had no idea what they were talking about.
But you don't have upspeak, blessedly. Right. That drives me crazy. That needs to be banished. Parents need to instruct their children to end their sentences going down, not going up.
I don't know anyone who does that.
Oh, you need to pay attention. Listen.
Do you know anyone who
Oh,
does
it
that?
drives me crazy. Our waitress tonight. Did you listen
Really?
to her? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Upspeak?
Yes. Every female, especially, but even males, have adopted the Valley, the San Fernando Valley accent that started in the, 70s. I don't know when it started. But I thought it would be a regional thing, and it swept across the country, which amazes me.
I didn't, I've never even paid attention to that.
I listen to these things.
I do like listening to inflection. I do think it's fun to hear how people inflect their voices.
This is getting
how they do
super random.
Okay.
This is Welcome to Scott Clark's
Support
show.
the Idlecast. Look what your financial gifts are going
Everyone
to.
is tuned out by now.
Idlecast.
Why are you here, Chad? What brings you to Escondido?
Oh, I thought you were asking me a much more philosophical question. Well, so Dr. Craig Troxel has a class in the winter term for you all.
Yeah, where is that class? At what institution?
At Westminster Seminary, California.
Oh, very good.
There you go. And so yeah, he has a class there, and it's called Ministry of Witness.
Oh, nice.
And he asked me to come and lecture for 6 hours to the students on evangelism and missions. And so I did that last year. It was great doing it again this year with him. So I was just in the class today with the students, and then what we would do, of course, if I'm down here, I'm going to go to dinner with you two and come and record a podcast.
Okay.
And a couple more.
Yeah, and you did an episode of Abounding Grace too with Chris, right?
We did a couple of them.
2 of them.
Wow.
On kinism
Oh, outstanding.
and anti-Semitism
All right. Well,
and preaching. That all goes together.
so how long from production to release is it?
It depends if I liked the program. If I, need content, I'll hold it out. No, I'm just kidding. You know what I do? I don't know what yours is. It depends on how many I have in the bank,
Okay.
right? So if I have a bunch in there, it'll run maybe a month later. I just ran Rosaria's today, and that was probably 2 months ago. But this one with Chad, I don't have much in there. So this one will probably run 1 or 2 weeks.
Okay. So this program is scheduled for February 8th. So by the time you hear this, the AGR episode will be out, and you should go watch that. You can watch that on YouTube, and you can listen to it right on Apple Podcasts. If you don't want to see them, you're just content to listen to them, you can hear them. But if you need to see them, if that's important to you, for some reason that I don't fully understand yet. You can do it on YouTube. So, because we just started doing videos. We're releasing.
I saw the first one.
Yeah. Chris has criticisms.
No, it was helpful, constructive.
It was because I didn't sit. So it turns out I thought I could get away with just sort of, sitting in my reading chair, and apparently that's not going to work.
So Chris, didn't like how that looked.
No, nor did my daughter. So the Heidel child was very critical.
You call your daughter the Heidel child?
Yeah, Dad, you can't sit like that.
You're a Heidel buddy.
I'm a Heidel buddy. Is that right? We're Heidel friends.
That's pretty good.
Heidel buddies.
I like that.
You should.
That's pretty good.
I just coined something.
Yeah, we'll add that to the Heidel shop. Heidelblog.net/shop, SHOP. You can get your Heidel.
The number
buddy.
one Heidel
I
buddy.
think we need to have Heidel homies. That's what we need.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Heidel big dogs.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
I used to wear a shirt. I used to wear big dog shirts, and back in the day, and we had this older pastor. He was the senior pastor for years and years, and then he was quite old, and he became the pastor for seniors. This was at my old mega church, and I was walking down the hall one day, and he saw me in the big dog shirt, and he walks by, and he just goes, "Big dog, big ugly dog." Just keeps on walking. Thanks, brother. Thank you so much. I guess you can get away with that when you're like 50 years in pastoral ministry.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. And you weren't offended.
No, I laughed and laughed.
Yeah,
I thought
see?
it was hilarious. Yeah.
Because this is the way, okay, listener, just so you know, this is the way men talk to each other.
Especially pastors.
No, but it's the way men talk to each other.
True. It's
I mean,
true.
when females meet, they don't hit each other. But when men meet, you're likely to get a punch on the shoulder, right? It's just the way we relate to each other. We relate to each other differently.
It's true.
Than females relate to each other. We don't emote. So obviously we're having a podcast and we're talking. And so if the Heidelfrau asks me, well, what did you talk about? I'll remember some of that. But if we were just hanging out and she said, well, what did you talk about? I would say, I don't know, because we don't keep a log in our heads of everything that everyone said. It's just not what we do.
Heidel junk.
Yeah. We talked about Heidel junk. Exactly. But if I ask her, about a conversation that she had, with one of her lady friends, she could give me a blow-by-blow of who's getting married to whom and who's going, doing this. And I mean, I come home and I get questions. Well, what about this and what about that? And I say, I don't know. And then she starts querying me as if I'm holding out on her. And I really don't know.
Yeah.
It's just, we're different. That's my only point. I'm not criticizing. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying it's a fact of life that males and females are different. And that's a manifestation.
Based on the course of this conversation, I think it's important for your listeners to know that we didn't consume any alcohol at dinner.
No, we didn't.
This is just like, okay, sorry.
No, we're just having fun.
Yeah.
Most people probably know I almost never consume alcohol. It's not a matter of principle. I just don't do it.
I don't consume it either.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I've stopped consuming it. I used to, if I do, I'll have one on the weekend, but as you get older, you don't feel good when you have one.
Oh,
So
interesting.
I just don't do it.
So are we talking about beer or something else?
Just beer or anything. I just don't. My time and the way I want to wake up in the morning and be alert really matters as you get older.
Interesting.
And even one beer affects me now.
Oh,
I
interesting.
just feel cruddy.
Sometimes at Christmas, I put some Irish cream on some ice cream, and I forgot to do that. Well, we weren't, in a position where we could do that, so I didn't do it. I like that, but otherwise, I almost never say, ooh, that glass of gin looks really good. I mean, it doesn't, or anything. I did the single malt thing for a while, and I realized I don't really like this.
Yeah, and this is surprising for Chad because Central Valley, Merle Haggard way, this is what people do.
Drink beer?
Drink beer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when they test things, they tested alcohol in fast food joints.
Yeah.
And they tested it in Bakersfield. Literally, they test marketed it in Bakersfield. You want to get some beer while you're at Wendy's?
That's true. You are from one of the most important centers of country music in America.
We are. We're Nashville West.
Yeah. So have you frequented Buck Owens' place or any
I
of those?
have.
So whom have you heard? Because there's some really famous country artists who've come from Bakersfield.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, Merle Haggard was there.
Yeah.
Buck Owens.
Oh, did you get to see them?
Buck Owens. Yeah. I went to school at elementary school with one of his granddaughters.
Really?
Yeah. So we knew him. He was, I wasn't like close with him or anything,
Sure.
but I'd met him or interacted.
Oh,
So
interesting.
we had a lot of country music stars come through town.
Yeah, yeah.
We
Of course.
we also had Korn came from Bakersfield. Korn, the
Oh, yeah.
rock band. That's
Yeah,
nothing
yeah.
like country music.
No.
They were from Bakersfield. The guy, Brian Head Welch, who was there when I was a pastor at this other church I was at, he was attending there some.
Oh, interesting. Who is it? I can't think of his name. Who is the sort of successor to Buck Owens for Bakersfield? He's big. He's a huge country artist. The listener's probably yelling at his phone right now, or his, come on, who is it? Big, major country artist
Not
from
Merle
Bakersfield.
Haggard, not Buck Owens,
No.
not Dwight Yoakam.
Yes, Dwight Yoakam.
Okay.
Thank
Dwight
you.
Yoakam was from Bakersfield?
Yeah.
Well, he sang on the streets of Bakersfield.
Oh, that's right.
You guys,
That's
this
right.
is great.
That's a good song.
So Lane,
I like that song.
Lane Tipton was in Bakersfield, and so we were having lunch, and Lane Tipton, it says to me, he says, "Is it okay if I leave lunch for like 10 minutes?" I said, "Really? Why?" He goes, "I need to go out and walk around the street and listen to it on the streets of Bakersfield while I'm walking around outside." And he did. He went out and did it. I was like, "This is so."
He's done it.
Just one time. Anyway, so yeah.
So going back to your lecture, can you give us a synopsis of what you said to the students about evangelism, witness, and so forth?
So today I had 3 sessions. First one was on the pastor as evangelist, and it really dealt with the pastor's life,
Okay.
the pursuit of godliness, and what sort of man you need to be if you're going to be in pastoral ministry, and press them on that issue and the importance of that. The second hour, I dealt with the church and its place in making Christ known to the world, both locally and in the foreign context. And then the third hour, I dealt with Thomas Boston's. It was really an overview of Thomas Boston's Fishers of Men. So,
Oh, that's great.
yeah,
Good for you. No, so that was today.
That was
Now,
today.
you lectured yesterday, didn't you?
no. Yesterday, I came in and did some programs with Chris and had dinner with Craig
okay.
Truxell.
Now, do you have more lectures to give?
I have 3 tomorrow.
Okay, and what are you doing tomorrow?
I might change it up. I had 3 written, one that deals with Owen in volume 16 and some of what he has to say for the preparation of the minister. So I was going to do some stuff on preaching tomorrow, but after looking at the makeup of the class and some of the interactions that I've had, I'm probably going to make a little bit of a pivot and do a little bit more on foreign missions.
Okay. It's not like you have not given a lot of thought to foreign missions.
No, yeah, I've given a lot of that. So I teach at a lot of seminaries, actually, foreign missions.
Okay. And you are also I don't know your title, chairman, president of a major missions organization.
Well, yeah, I was the founding board chairman of Radius International.
Radius, okay.
Which is the largest training organization that trains people to go to unreached language groups. So people who have no access to the gospel.
So you're not just a theoretician. You're involved in this as a major part of your ministry.
Yeah.
You send missionaries from your congregation, right?
Yeah. So we have one team in an unreached people group in Indonesia on a particular island that's 100% Muslim, speak a language. They've never had the gospel in their language. And then another in Laos, going to reach another people group. We've had some folks go into Papua New Guinea. We've done quite a bit of this, and I've got to train as part of the training of Radius about 500 missionaries now.
So Reformed people actually do missions.
Yeah, historically, Reformed people do missions better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And, I told you this years ago, but I was reading William Carey's book. We talk about William Carey as the father of modern missions. And I was reading, it's not quite a book, though Missionary, which one of the ministries I have, Missionary, has re-put out that book as a hardback, but that inquiry into the obligations to use means to reach the nations, that particular book, he references Dutch missionaries.
Yeah.
And so I started looking into those Dutch missionaries and coming right out of the Synod of Dort.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating because in Leiden, you think of the famous Dutch seminary and training. There was a man named Antonius Willeus who had, because inspired by the work of a famous Dutch cartographer, had decided he wanted to start a training center to train people to go to these places.
Do you know the name of the cartographer?
I don't remember the name of the cartographer.
It's Festus Hommius, isn't it?
That may be right.
Because he is the guy who blew the whistle, or one of the guys who blew the whistle on Arminius. And,
Interesting.
Yeah, and also a cartographer, if I'm getting that right.
Yeah, so that ministry went for 11 years. The problem was there were some scandals with the Dutch East India Trading Company and some of what's happening there. So that sort of sunk the ship. But really the first missiology that we know of in the Protestant world was written by, how do you say it? Fuchsius?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
Okay, good. I mean, is it a Latin name?
It's Dutch, but
It's Dutch.
it's Latinized. It's Foot, so it's a trick. So the Dutch pronunciation of his actual Dutch name is Foot, and then it just gets smooshed into Fuchsius.
Oh, interesting. There you go.
Scott knows all these things.
Yeah, I know. He's really into that stuff.
He's always correcting me.
Well, like I say, you could take the boy out of the Central Valley, but it's hard to take the Central Valley out of the boy. And I say this as a guy from Nebraska, right? So who did his
You
education
got to do some reading in Latin to
in
get
the
a lot.
public school system. I tell the students what I learned in the Omaha public schools was to keep my right up and lead with my left. That's what I learned in OPS, which is a valuable skill, actually.
Yeah.
Don't stand still. Keep your head moving, jab and move, and never go down without a swinging. That was valuable. All right, so
it would work in
So yeah,
Bakersfield,
so
too.
we've what my point is that Reformed have a rich heritage of foreign missions,
Yeah.
and that's not been as great as of late,
No.
particularly to unreached language groups. We're kind of good at sending seminary professors around the world, but we do some church planting, but not like we used to. I mean, there's more probably domestic home church planting than there is foreign. There is some, don't get me wrong, but the kind of go to the darkest, hardest places on earth has not been much in the Reformed world lately. It's it's like making a comeback. I'm seeing it rise now, and so I'm encouraged by that.
Sure. Yeah, and there are some historical reasons for that. Right, for the first half of the 20th century, we were fighting for our lives and getting tossed on our ears out of the mainline churches, losing our institutions, losing our funding. A lot of congregations meeting in mortuaries and bank basements and things. So we've had to rebuild all of our institutions. Interestingly, now we're actually recovering some of those old mainline churches out of which we were chased 100 years ago. There's a small movement, but it's happening in a little bit at a time. Little NAPARC churches, right? Confessional Reformed churches are actually buying back tall steeple mainline churches because the people have all left. There's nobody there because there's nobody preaching the gospel. There's no ministry of word anymore. People stop believing the Bible. Anyway, so I think that we always wanted to do it. We just couldn't because we didn't have any money. I mean, I always hasten to remind people there are 600,000 of us in North America, optimistically, 600,000 compared to at least if you talk to Mark Dever, he will tell you there are about 6 million really active Southern Baptists.
I'm less convinced that the whole problem was we were small and struggling for a variety of reasons. I think there's an attitude in the Reformed community that is not in everybody, but that exists out there that is a little bit kind of down on us. We're not very big. We don't have very many resources. What can we do? And I want to be like, well, we might not be very big, but the God of the universe is our God, and we're getting the gospel right.
But you're talking to a guy who pastored a congregation that met in a converted gas station in Kansas City. We had 40 people, a budget of $40,000, 8,000 of which went to the mortgage. So we had no resources, and we were actually not all that atypical. For most NAPARC churches are 100 people or less, and they're very marginal financially.
I guess I'm just pushing against that only on the ground that when I read, for example, Isaiah 54, the suffering servant is promised an inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
And we're told, lengthen the cords of the tent, get ready, the nations are coming in. And I don't know that we have that expectation like we should. I recognize there are churches that are barely getting by financially. I'm not talking about that.
Which would be most of NAPARC, actually, statistically.
Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. The word of God is the word of God. The commission to reach the lost is the commission to reach the lost. And maybe because we spent so many years just surviving, and I think it would be fair to say we turned inward to a certain degree and lost our focus on the world. But even if you look at the OPC, which is still a relatively small denomination of about 50,000 people, their mission effort, or what they are for the size they are, is really, I think, fairly impressive. And then, of course, there's Mission to the World, and which is fairly extensive. And the PCA is much larger proportionally and much better funded. That's the other thing. The PCA has a lot more white collar folks and a lot more resources. If you have a congregation of 150, 200 people, you're going to have a multi-staff church. If you're in the URCNA, you can have 600 people in a congregation, and you might have a multi-staff church.
But that's not a lack of money.
No, that's right. That in that case, it's not a lack of money.
Nope.
But for most of our places, you've got 100 people and one pastor, and that's considered a pretty successful church in NAPARC.
So I know I'll probably sound like a theologian of glory to you. But my church had 80 people when we started Radius.
Yeah.
And we didn't have much money. And we were meeting at a variety of rented locations that we were trying to find. We still don't have a permanent location. We've been in 17 locations, I think now, 14 or 17 locations in 19 years.
Okay. Now, in fairness, you didn't start out as a confessional reformed
The point is we're small and don't have much money and don't have a facility. That was all still true.
That's right. But you weren't swimming against the tide the way that an OP church plant or a URCNA church plant
Maybe,
would
but
be.
Sometimes they're swimming against the tide because they're unnecessarily peculiar and odd in ways they don't need to be.
I think that's fair.
It's not because the gospel they're preaching, right? So this is one of the things I think you might be swimming against the tide in the sense that you don't have a rock band or something like that.
And we're saying that you've got to baptize your babies. And so now you've got to explain that. And, we're predestinarian, and you have to explain that. And
I'm not sure that matters that much to unbelievers.
I think that's right to a certain degree. It's a bigger issue with evangelicals coming in than it is with people who are being converted from unbelief.
For sure.
But I think the bigger question is going to be, what did you do differently then, now becoming reformed and confessional that you're doing now? That's going to be the big question, because you were, as an evangelical, probably putting people into that shouldn't have been in that.
Oh, well, so that's a different question.
Okay. So what I'm saying is a lot of evangelical churches pat themselves on the back for missions, but it's a complex thing, especially when you have North American, in our setting, pastors sending them to other parts of Europe, other parts of the world. It takes a lot of planning, a lot of resource, but also a lot of training.
Well, my argument isn't that the evangelicals are doing missions well. We didn't start Radius because we thought the evangelicals were doing missions well. Quite the opposite. We wanted to train people because they weren't getting trained. And I think the seminary thing is the piece that evangelicals care about less than maybe on the Reform side we would, or not maybe, than they do. I think the issue I'm driving at is, so you take a John G. Payton, who comes out of the Reformed Presbyterian Church and goes to the New Hebrides.
Yeah.
He comes back for 4 years to Australia and Scotland, England, et cetera, and recruits 1 in 6 of the Reformed Presbyterian pastors leave and go into foreign missions with him.
Yeah.
1 in 6. Or I think early Princeton. So Archibald Alexander, J.W. Alexander.
And early Westminster, too. Old
Yeah.
Westminster in the early days.
But the early Princeton, 1 in 3.
Yeah.
Graduates from Princeton Seminary were going to foreign missions.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
My point is, the Reformed used to be quite good at this.
Yeah.
We were great at it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good point. In the early days of the OPC, they sent, one of the foundational missionaries to Korea, what we think of as South Korea.
And the CRC's
Bruce Hunt.
World Missions.
Yeah.
Oh, big in world missions.
Was huge. Growing up, it was always, I was always told they did a really good job at it.
The more they move progressive and liberal, the more the missions work dies.
Or
From those groups.
broadly evangelical, yeah.
Yeah, they just dies out. And this is the thing that, and I don't know what comes first, the chicken or the egg. So I'm putting together a volume on Princeton and missions. So what I did was I spent several months reading through all the material of the old Princeton guys. So just started going through all the different professors, everybody who ever taught at Princeton, up from Archibald Alexander, their first teacher, prof, to Machen. And Machen, by the way, people don't even know that in Christianity and liberalism deals a lot with foreign missions.
Well, that's why he was in trouble.
Oh, wow.
Because he was on the independent board for foreign missions.
The Heidelcast.
All right, quiet on the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
We have to be really quiet. Clark is making another Heidel video. I know what you're thinking. I thought the same thing myself. It's a little weird. I mean, look, you've seen him. I've seen him. Who really wants to see him on video? But that's what they're doing. So I guess you better watch every Friday at heidelblog.net/HeidelVideo or on YouTube at Heidelcast.
Cut!
Uh-oh. I better get out of here before the assistant director finds me. One more thing. You can help make it happen by making the coffer clink or by sending a check to Heidelberg Reformation Association, 1637 East Valley Parkway, number 391, Escondido, California, 92027.
Roll sound.
Rolling.
Sound production, take two.
Call or text now, 760-618-1563.
So how do we get back to that sort of early Princeton passion for missions and the sort of self-sacrificial spirit and the looking to the world, sort of looking above our own situation and looking at the broader horizon and saying, let's go reach that unreached people group? How do we recover that, recapture that?
I mean, J.W. Alexander argued that it rises and falls with our pastors. That if our pastors would, in the pulpit, preach Christ's, this is Christ's inheritance. All the nations of the earth, they've been given to him. They are his inheritance. We're not going out and making them his inheritance. They're his. So we're going and claiming them. And let's go claim what's his. I think if pastors preach that well, clearly, and the church has prayed for the Spirit to raise up workers for the harvest, the Lord answers that prayer. And so I don't think that happens quickly. It takes time in a church. You know, it's like you drop seeds and they germinate, and over time the Spirit works in that. And he's done that in my church, and I'm thankful. And he's done that in other churches. And I think I see it more and more in the Reformed world. But some of it is just, we've got to stop seeing our confessions the way we see them. That's going to sound strange.
What do you mean by that?
So, and this is, I said this in class today. I fear that the progressives and the PCA are going to get way too excited about what I'm saying here, right? That the progressives and the PCA will be like, yeah, that's what we're talking about. But, and I don't think they're going to understand me properly. But I think sometimes we see our confessions, our confessional churches like a citadel. We exist to guard the gate of the citadel.
A fortress mentality.
A fortress mentality. And, I think the confessions are true. Like, I think they're true. I think that it's a shame when a minister takes a vow to teach in accord with those and then doesn't. I think there's an integrity issue there. And if you don't mean it, don't say it. But when we came across the confessions, our story better than most. When we came across the confessions, I was calling you all the time going, Scott, I cannot believe what this says, right? Yeah. So, what is your only comfort in life and death? And it's like, I've been being, I'm reading this thing going, this is glorious. Does anybody know this exists? This is amazing.
Yeah.
So for us, it was like, how do you read those and then not want to go shout it from the rooftops?
And be indifferent.
Yeah, and be indifferent and be like, well, we're going to protect this from liberals, but we're not going to go out there and proclaim it to people. I just think it's a little bit, I think some folks have gotten too used to their confessions, and
we don't appreciate how
taken for granted how good they are.
Yeah.
In my church is a total opposite experience. I'm teaching the Bible and I'm like, how do we say this? How do we say this? And our elders are like, how do we say this? This is over the years. And they're like, guys, look what these guys said. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That's exactly what we want to say. And they're saying it so much better than we were ever going to say it. So how come we don't just use these documents, right? Why are we writing our own doctrinal statements or whatever? And I think once you see that doctrine and you understand what it's communicating about how glorious our God is and how kind and gracious to us he's been, it's like, I just want to tell people about that. And I want that to take shape in our people's hearts. I don't want them to get used to the grace of the gospel, how kind Christ is, to the degree that it's just kind of like, okay, here we go. We're going to hear about, what's your only comfort in life and death again. Like,
Yeah.
And I don't want them to get there. And, I want them to like, this is amazing. I understand when we hear it again and again and again, it's easy to get settled. I get that. I'm just saying familiarity with it has to some degree lost some of the luster for people.
Now, Chris is the pastor of I don't know, is it fair to call it an older congregation relative to Sovereign Grace Bakersfield, Escondido United Reformed Church?
Yeah, indeed.
They're practically ancient church relative to us.
Well, anything in like everyone, I think people celebrate their 20-year anniversary. I think we're like on 75 or 80.
Yeah, so this congregation's been around since the 1940s and 50s.
Yeah.
So what is your sense? I mean, I don't have the sense that most of our people, that's obviously where I worship, take this for granted or are indifferent. I think they have a deep appreciation.
I would push back on Chad a little. Just that I agree you can have dry confessionalism. Nobody disagrees with that. If J.W. Alexander said, listen, the answer here is to push more on Great Commission and the claim of Christ over the nations, I would agree with that in principle. But I've seen pastors who all of a sudden this becomes like the thing of their ministry. It's all about missions. It's all about missions. And they're known as we're going to get the mission whip from the pastor now on this particular issue. What I'm saying is, I think what I'd want to say is the way that confessional church is driving, and I don't want to sound cliche in saying this, but the way that they're driving home the gospel to the people. So, I remember somebody said in Linden to me years ago, there was all of a sudden happening organically from the life of the church. I'll answer your question, but people getting really interested in doing missions, people wanting to go out and do these things. And I hadn't done maybe I preached Jonah, but I hadn't made this a major focal point. But I remember a very wise old saint walked up to me and said, what's happening here is that the gospel is so freshly being preached to the people. It's creating a hunger in them to want to go out and tell others about it.
Mm.
And I think that's what kind of has to naturally happen in the life of the congregation. It's not an agenda push. I'm not saying you were saying that, but it has to be something that, we were talking about preaching, Chad. I think where we struck a good note is you have to have, I know excitement's an overused word. You have to have an energy, a zeal, excitement for what you're telling the people. It's like what Spurgeon said one time. If you're not excited about it, why do you expect the people to be excited about it? So what I'm saying is the gospel and the power of the gospel, when it's preached well and the people are being fed, they're receiving the scripture and confessional theology well, it should be creating that hunger in them and drive in the life of the congregation. To Scott's question, there's a lot of pressure and questions. We have a missionary, a lot of pressure and questions on us because we're a rich resource church. The amount of things we have given toward missions is unreal over the years.
Yeah.
The amount of money this church has given toward it. And
we've sent out
all kinds of...
quite a number.
Yeah, we've planted 2 churches here locally, and then we've sent out all kinds, especially from seminary we support who go back out.
Yeah. Well, we have some long-term missionaries that we've been supporting for decades.
For decades.
Now, okay, I have another question.
I'm not sure we're saying different things.
No, I don't think we were. What I was saying was the dry doctrinal stuff that you were talking about that tends to happen with confessional. I would say if you eliminate the dryness and there's a freshness to it, it's going to create that very thing.
Right. Well, but see, I guess what I'm saying is, Chris, you're not necessarily the average Reformed pastor.
Well, I don't know. I think he's pretty average.
Yeah.
You remember from the valley.
Yeah.
From the valley.
You weren't going to just toss that up there and expect me not to hit that. I mean, okay,
but
carry on.
I mean, you're a good preacher. People appreciate what you're doing. I listen to your preaching. I don't know that we're saying something different. I guess what I'm getting at is I think there are a lot of people who are battle-worn, who are turned in on themselves. And in the Reformed world.
Yeah, so what do you think pulls them out of that?
Well, preaching Christ, that's the point I'm making.
Yeah. Okay. Then we are on the same page.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying about the confessions. I guess what I'm saying about when I see the confessions, I think they're a summary of what Christianity is. We believe them because we believe the Bible is best summarized in these documents. And if their summary of what Christianity is, then when this is true in the Heidelberg Catechism, it's true in the Belgic Confession, it's true in Dort, obviously, it's true in the Westminster Standards. The gospel is gloriously summarized there. And so I want people to be thrilled by that. And when they are thrilled by the gospel, not so much the standards just summarize it really well. But when they're thrilled by Christ, then they want to make him known.
There you go.
And so that's what I'm driving at.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we put that in front of them as much as we ought to put that in front of them.
Yeah.
So I'm not talking about driving the whip of like every week we talk about missions. Let's talk about Great Commission Sunday again. I have never had a missions weekend in my church.
I've never, I've not seen that in you. So you guys are, I think, agreed. What about sending out laity, unordained, theologically untrained, relatively, besides catechism, let's say?
Hugely problematic.
Well, and it's been a major focus of modern missions.
Yeah.
And we say in our church order, for example, a missionary is a minister who's been sent to someplace to plant churches. And a lot of people would say, well, that's crazy. You can never have a missions program that requires someone to be educated and ordained, right? Because we don't send out men who are not educated. So how do we think about that?
Can I say yes? We should send out gospel ministers who are trained, ordained gospel ministers to plant churches. That's right. But they're usually going to go in teams, particularly if they're going into like what we're doing.
A support
what we're
team.
training people to do in Radius. They're going to the most difficult places on earth. They're going into closed access countries.
Yeah.
They're almost always having to set up a business in order to stay there.
Yeah.
And so let's just think about what they have to do. They've got to go learn the main. So let's say it's Indonesia. I go to learn Bahasa. Once I know Bahasa fluently so that I can live there and function, I'm going to go to an unreached language, which is not Bahasa. There's Reformed seminaries in Bahasa, right?
Yeah.
There are good Reformed churches, in part to the Dutch, are there in Indonesia. So I'm going to learn that. And then I'm going to go to a people that have never heard the gospel, that probably don't have a written language. So I'm going to go to some island, 50,000 Muslims. They don't have a written language. There's no gospel in their language, no Bible in their language, no Christian witness in their language, no church in their language. So I'm going to go there, and I'm going to learn their language. And I'm going to learn it. I'm going to learn it, and then I'm going to put it to a written orthography.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to teach them how to read it. And then I'm going to translate the Bible into it. And then I'm going to teach them the Bible. And then I'm going to plant the church, right, from that. And then I'm going to teach them the Bible more and raise up elders and deacons and hand the church over. And in the midst of doing all that, in order to be able to stay there long term, I'm also going to start a foreign international business and stay and do that. You're not doing that by yourself. It's just like a gospel minister went to West Cal and is now going to the field. Yeah. You're going to need other people. So how are they going to be? They're going to be on your missions team that's being sent out.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't have any trouble with that at all.
But are you reacting to just laymen, especially young people?
I'm just asking.
Being sent. I mean, is that something that crossed your mind?
Yeah, I mean, when you have people who are enthusiastic but not really ready.
So let me give you a perfect what I think is. So my daughter goes to this youth camp retreat. She had never been. She's a freshman. It's her first youth retreat. She comes back and she's, Dad, I got to talk to you. I said, okay, we're going to talk about. I'm really struggling with the school I'm in. I met all these wonderful people at this camp, and I don't want to go back to the school now because my school's there's a lot of this, a lot of that, a lot of this, and I had to explain to her that camp was not life.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
So
it's not reality.
It's not reality. So this is what the great problem with like YWAM was.
Yeah,
right. You'd have YWAM that would send these young people out, and they would go to Africa, feed the poor. Then they come back to what they think, are rich, affluent churches in America and think this is not where it's at. So these were not mature Christians. These were not Christians who had been trained to understand what this is. They were not there for the long term. They were not going to invest, as Chad said, and have a whole team and oversight of this thing. This kind of whole project of sort of short-term missions, every person kind of missions, has actually done harm to the local church here in America, in my opinion.
Yeah. And, maybe overseas.
Yes, overseas. I mean, you can go out and help people with food and be encouraged by that. But then what you find with YWAM was the numbers were, and Mark Stromberg up in Linden, who was heavily involved in all this, if you did the stats, these young people exited the church upon return.
So they went on a missions trip.
Yes.
And then came back and left the church.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's any different. So when we're talking about the evangelical church sending out a bunch of youth to make a mess all over the world, right? I don't think there's any different than what the evangelical church is doing with pastors in their own churches. They're also generally untrained. They're charismatic. They love Jesus. I don't mean charismatic in the theological sense. Charismatic personalities.
Yeah.
They love the Lord. They're thrilled about the church. They speak well. They're good communicators. It's like, give them the pulpit. Let them be the pastor of the church. And there's no real testing. There's no real examination. There's no real training.
And no sense of visible church and office and qualifications for office.
So wait, so when your person from the local Reformed church heads over to one of those, he doesn't want to come back. Is that what you're, see the connection, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, that's been the pull out to something that's, all wrong.
Yeah. Well, so I've been the thorn in the side in the missions world on a lot of these things. The problem is we use the word missions. People have so many things that come to mind.
Yeah, exactly.
And so much of it is
That's
a
a great
mess. So much of it's a mess.
This is the Heidelcast.
What do you mean by mission then, or missions?
Well, I mean, to be really without going into real depth, you hear this term, the Missio Dei, that's thrown around.
Yeah.
And somehow the mission of God is this generic thing. Anything you do that seems positive is the mission of God. And it's like, no. And I think of the mission of God as defined by, there's two persons in the Trinity who have missions, the mission of the Son and the mission of the Holy Spirit. And the mission of the Son is to redeem his people in his work. And the mission of the Holy Spirit is to apply the redemption of that work.
And he does that where? In what institution?
And he does that through the church.
Yeah, through the Christ-confessing covenant community, the visible institutional church that has the marks of the true church, and where you have a rightly ordered ministry, an ordained minister called, prepared, qualified to stand in the pulpit or whatever and announce the law and the gospel, administer the sacraments, and help the elders administer discipline.
Well, and what's the missionary then? It's the sent one.
Yeah.
Right? It's the sent one. And so then something like Romans 10, 13 through 15 ought to start defining that for us, right? Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. But how can they call on the one in whom they haven't believed? And how can they believe in the one whom they've not heard? And how can they hear unless someone preaches?
Yeah.
And how can they preach unless they are sent, right? And who's sending them?
Yeah.
Right? They're being sent by the Spirit through the church.
Yeah.
That's very clear. I mean,
and in that way, it's just like domestic ministry, right? Just because somebody says, oh, I feel called, well, that person has to go through an evaluation. But you know the old story. The farmer comes to the minister and he says, yeah, Vel, Domini, I believe I'm called to become a minister of the word of God. And the Domini says, well, I need a week off. You can preach next week. And the farmer preaches next week. And then afterwards he says, yeah, Vel, Domini, what did you think? And the Domini says, because, the farmer said he was sitting on his tractor and he saw PC in the sky. And that's why all this happened.
Well,
hold on. And so then afterwards, the Domini, the minister says, you know that PC you saw in the sky? He said, yeah, Val, what? Yeah. And he says, I think I know what that meant. Well, what was that? It means plant corn. Right? So just because you have a sense of internal vocation doesn't mean you're necessarily qualified to take an office, special office in the church.
This is a good point, though, because, a lot of people just feel they're called to this.
Yeah. And in the evangelical world, that's all you need.
That's all you need. And then, it's like one famous minister was, his parishioner came and said, I believe God spoke to me last night and told me I need to go on the mission field. And the wise minister said, that's funny. God didn't tell me that. So,
well, yeah.
So, there's that accountability, structure that's important for this. This is somebody who, with the laying on of hands, but this is the other point, and I want to ask Chad about this. The whole idea that I see today of some people, and we've disconnected it from the office of pastor, so that this idea that there is the separate office of evangelist. And my reading, we have the historian here, my reading is that the evangelist in the first century was just merely helpers to the apostles, and that office expired in its own right at that time.
I mean, I don't have strong feelings about it. I mean, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
I mean,
but what I'm saying is it should be ordained position.
Oh, I think so.
And that's what's important to this, right?
I don't have strong feelings about that particular issue either. I do think, though, Chris, when I think of, if I wanted to get really technical, I would look and say, well, Chris is sent by Christ Church as an ordained minister to preach the gospel, right? So in that sense, you're participating in the mission of Christ Church.
I mean, do the work of an evangelist is what Paul said to Timothy.
Yep. And I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm doing it in the home front. When we're sending out missionaries, now via Radius, we do one lane. That's all we do. We're not doing, going into majority language contexts and planting more churches where there already are. We're going where there's nothing. And so it's a very specific kind of work. But even then, I'm pressing all the time on the fact that the man who's sent there is different from me only in the context to which he's being sent, not into the office or the work that he has. The distinction will be there are, circumstantial differences. He has to learn languages I don't have to learn. He has to deal with cultural realities I don't have to deal with. He has to deal with political realities and geographical realities and weather and, distance from family. And so there's a lot of those kinds of things that play into decisions he has to make and things he has to do. But fundamentally, he's a gospel minister who holds out the word to a people, just like I'm doing. And I think that's what Paul's pressing on in, Romans 15, where he's going to, preach Christ where he's never been named.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a part of obedience to the Great Commission that I think is sometimes not talked about enough in our circles. Like, we're naming Christ where he's already been named, and then we're doubling down on naming him there, which I think is good. I don't think it's bad. I'm just thinking we need to press also, some of these brothers should go name Christ where he's never been named. And the difference between their ministry and our ministry is what? They're naming him in some new place. Great. I mean, God bless them. But I don't think this idea that every young person who goes to Cross or Urbana or whatever and then gets fired up by the latest David Platt or Francis Chan sermon and thinks I need to give away everything and join, one of these YWAM. Terrible doctrine, by the way. Join YWAM and go out and minister in their own language for a summer or a year or 2 years among a people. They don't know their culture. They don't know their language. They can't communicate clearly with them. They couldn't communicate the gospel clearly in English, let alone the other language. And yet they're missionaries. I think that's crazy.
Don't you think that is a strategy in some quarters where they just sort of churn through enthusiastic, often young lay Christians, and that this is a conscious decision? We're going to recruit these fish and sort of churn through them. And when they burn out, we'll keep doing this. We'll just keep sending out. It just occurs to me as you're describing this, it almost sounds like an intentional strategy to churn through.
I don't know if I'm that cynical about it, but maybe it could be. I've never asked them, but
do you guys, maybe it's too big of a question to jump into here, but our sort of confessional reform worldview is that Matthew 28 and what's going on in Matthew 28, he's seeing that as ordained servants. They're going to go out and baptize. So he's not telling everyone to go out and to baptize.
He's telling representatives of the institutional visible church.
Right.
In that case, he's telling the 11 apostles, I'm not even there.
But
right.
See, that's shocking. That's shocking to people. If you talk to the average, maybe even reformed person, they would say, Matthew 28 is talking about all of us.
Yeah, no, it's talking about all of us in as much as we're all part of the visible church.
That's right.
And
That's
so
right.
we
share in that project.
And we share in that project.
Yeah.
But it's a commission, I think the apostles are the foundation of the church. And I think it's given to the church as a visible institution. And those keys are wielded by the elders of that church.
But Acts 8, Scott, will be thrown back at you.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
But if you read Acts 8 carefully, and I have, in fact, there's at least one article on Acts 8 on the Heidel blog on every member ministry. That's, I think, a really poor use of Acts 8 to appeal to it to sustain every member missions or every member ministry. I don't think that's what's happening in that text. Read on its own terms in its own context. You could lift it out of context and then, make it say things. As to reaching unreached people groups, the other thing that occurred to me as you were talking, Chad, is I agree with you, and I'm grateful for what Radius is doing. I mean, I think that's really, really important. But as America becomes increasingly post-Christian, there are a lot of unreached people groups in the United States. And this is not in any way to push back against, reaching the unreached outside the United States or, going to other places outside the United States. But it seems to me, that there are a lot of places in this country where there are not, sound confessional Reformed churches or even reformational churches. And there are places where vast numbers of people have never heard the gospel. I hasten to remind people, I grew up in Omaha and Lincoln, and I don't remember hearing the gospel as a boy in Omaha, Nebraska, surrounded by churches.
Two responses to that. One, I don't know why it has to be a but.
Okay.
Right? So my church is responsible to reach people in the area we're in.
So
I am a local pastor.
And.
Yeah. And the church ought to be reaching these people who have no access.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying that these things both matter. Like, I'm a local pastor in a local community that has a responsibility to saturate that community with the gospel, right? To make it known to everybody around us to the degree that we can. I mean, there are people who speak languages I don't know. And it's going to be hard for me to do that. But then when we talk about people who have zero access.
That's right. There's a difference between having no access and having access and not taking advantage of it.
Correct. There's a difference. And so that's where I'm going to press on the difference. Now, there are unreached languages who are in this diaspora, globally coming into the U.S.
Yeah.
I don't find those peoples in the U.S. to be the most strategic choices if you're going to go under that unreached language group. But that's more of a wisdom strategy issue than it is a principial issue, right? So the reason is they don't tend to ever go back to the people. The people tend to come one direction.
Yeah, they stay.
So I'd rather go where they are and then let them, as they immigrate here, they're going to keep spreading that. So there's some reasons for that I think strategically it's not the best idea to jump after the diaspora peoples. I don't think it's wrong. God bless people if they do it. It's just strategically that's not where we direct our energy in our training and what we focus on. But I do think we can, chew gum and walk at the same time.
We can do both.
As a local pastor, I need to reach local people, and we're praying God will raise up gospel ministers who will get trained and ordained and go to reach peoples who've never heard the gospel. And particularly people who have no access. And people group, this is the second part. The people group issue is unreached people groups. I think I've kind of jettisoned that terminology.
Okay.
Because I don't know what it means. Like if you go on the Joshua Project, I'm not kidding. There's 17,000 unreached people groups in the Joshua Project. North American hockey players are considered an unreached people group according to the Joshua Project. I'm not even kidding.
Well, maybe we need to investigate that a little
What
bit.
in the world is a people group here?
Yeah.
So I'm going to define that linguistically.
Okay.
So I'm now talking about unreached language groups. In other words, there's no Bible, church, or gospel minister that's in that language.
Hey, well, hockey is an unreached language group,
So,
and that could be
exactly. I think most of them speak English, and so they can hear the gospel.
Okay.
So I would want to distinguish that there and just say there is a sense in which we have to say if the people around us are hearing the gospel, and they have a number of opportunities to hear the gospel in their language, and there are people with languages who have zero access. Every single one of them numerically will die and go to hell.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go next.
That's the issue for me.
Yeah, Chris, let's elaborate on that for a minute. I'll let you drive this bus into the barn. Why is it so important to find a way to communicate the gospel, right? Doing it the right way to people who have not heard it? Why is it so vital that people hear the gospel? What happens if people don't hear the gospel, or if they hear the gospel and don't believe? What is the issue? I mean, is it the case that people who die, they didn't get a chance to hear, and so everybody goes to heaven? What's the point here?
Yeah, I mean, what was Ian Murray's book, Evangelicalism Divided, where it's recorded in there that Billy Graham made the statement at one point that whether you've heard about Jesus or not, you can make it into heaven. You have this sort of idea out there, right, that people may escape the judgment to come, even if they haven't heard about Jesus or believed.
And what's the jeopardy of the judgment to come? What does that mean?
So this is what I think is so important. And this is what I think, especially in our day, where I just throw this in, where we're sidetracked on everything political. And We are caught up in internet wars, and we're sitting out, people fighting all day long. And this probably gets to what you were talking about earlier, which I'm in full agreement about certain things. There are people perishing. There are people dying in their sins. This is John 7 and 8. And if you don't believe that Jesus is the Christ, you will perish in your sins.
Yeah.
So Romans 1 makes very clear and is a warning to everyone that that even by what is revealed through what is made, all men are without excuse. Okay. So some people will say, well, they haven't heard. Listen, everyone suppresses the truth in unrighteousness. Every tribe, tongue, people, and nation out there, every people group, whatever we designate them as, they all are suppressing that truth and turning and worshiping the creature rather than the creator who is forever blessed. So I don't know how you can be in ministry and not have some great concern for the heart of this, that Jesus has come to deliver people from sin, that many things are undoubtedly contained in the gospel, John Calvin, but the chief aim of the gospel is that God intends to accomplish through the gospel is the forgiveness of sins. If that's the case, if that's the chief aim, our great concern, as Chad has outlined here, is for us to be faithful in our local churches, in our communities, but also to think about strategically how best to go abroad and to announce this good news and to turn people's hearts to the Lord in true faith so that they might be delivered from the judgment to come.
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
That's it for this episode of the Heidelcast. Join us next time as we do something. We might continue the series.
Have this mind.
Or we might do something else. But don't miss an episode. Subscribe in Apple Podcasts or in any podcast app. Find us on YouTube at Heidelcast. And don't forget to check out the Heidel shop at heidelblog.net/SHOP. And also don't forget to look at the Heidel video at heidelblog.net/Heidel video. Also on YouTube at Heidelcast. Email heidelcast@heidelblog.net. Call or text the Heidel phone anytime at 760-618-1563. That's 760-618-1563. Or send a voice memo to heidelcast@heidelblog.net. Remember, the Heidelcast may be cheap, but it isn't free. When the coin in the coffer clinks, the cost of bandwidth shrinks.
Copyright 2026. All rights reserved. This is a Heidel Media production.
This is the way.
All right, that's it. Let's roll. Hey, let's be careful out here.
Good night, Jeff.
Nothing is over until we decide it is. Silence! I kill you! I'm out of here!
We're a little late. Good night, folks.
Well, Gracie, say good night.
Good night.
Good night, Mrs. Calabash. We're heavy. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has left the building.
It's the end of the program. Roy Knapp is at the chimes. Good night, all. We'll be with you tomorrow.
Tune in tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Adjusting the Wayback Machine, Sherman and I were quickly on our way.
WFIL, Philadelphia. Non-stop music. Jim O'Brien, WFIL. Means music. Well, look, it's 9:05 already, and there's a chance of some snow on the morrow. I had a little note here left for me from the weatherman, and I almost read it verbatim. I really can't tell you any more about it. Meantime, here's whoever she is. She's tough enough. Of course, that's Betty Wright on WFIL. I knew it all along. 9:08, Millionaire Time. Jim O'Brien with you. And all kidding aside, man, you got to watch that when these guys leave these little notes for you, you see, and you jump right on the air and you almost read them. You'll never know what I almost said.
This is the WFIL Millionaire, and I've made over 30 people very happy. In my brief stay in Philadelphia, I've awarded over 30 lucky WFIL listeners money in excess of $4,000. And I'm not through. Keep listening to 56 and watching for me, the WFIL Millionaire.
Well, when Bob and I got engaged, we looked for the ring around 8th and Sanson.
So
So visit H&R Block today. Don't let an amateur do their job. Well, officially, from the Flip-A-Nickel Weather Service, sunny and cold today, increasing clouds and cold tonight. Tomorrow, a chance of some snow. High today 33, now 24 in the Partridges. Just one of those nights and mornings on WFIL with your old buddy Jim O'Brien as usual at 9:13, cavorting through my mail. An interesting note here, in crayon I might add, sometimes when I'm homesick or something like that, I listen to WFIL, and 9 times out of 10, you just happen to be on the air, which means that that I make this kid sick. 9 times out of 10, he listens to maybe some slander involved here. I'm checking with my attorney on this. Should a gentleman... winner of cash from the millionaire is Leonard Daring of Coatesville, who copped $560 last night. You could be a winner today. He's out there. I am a lineman for the county.
On WFIL because they remind me of when I was just a kid.
I'm stopping now.
The best podcast